Hey, folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It is Monday, April 7th. Good morning and a start to what appears to be a sleepy week on the NFL calendar. Nothing going on except for like some obscure event at the Penguins hockey arena that may or may not involve the next Steelers starting quarterback. I don't know. Stay tuned for that. That's all I got coming up this week, though. But I want to talk about something that happened over the weekend in another sport, actually hockey. Alex Ovechkin set the NHL record for most career goal scores. And that was something that I always thought was pretty close to being an unbreakable NHL record. If you look at the era that Wayne Gretzky played in, such a higher scoring era. And I didn't think the NHL would, one, ever get to a place where it allowed its players to score goals again like that. And then also to find a goal scorer like Alex Ovechkin, who could have the career he had. Pretty impressive stuff. And it got me thinking over the weekend, what is the NFL's most unbreakable record? You know, unlike other sports, the NFL does not really care that much about its record books. In baseball, records are revered and hallowed. And in football, they are literally meant to be broken. And as football has expanded its season over the years, it's just trampled all over the record books. Like nobody cares that whoever is setting a record now will be doing it in 17 games and then someday very soon doing it at 18 games. And maybe that record was set during a 12-game season or a career record was set playing during 12 games. Nobody seems to care. Like that's just not the way football does. And so it's hard to find an unbreakable career, similar style NFL record because most of them have been broken because as the league continues to expand its schedule, it gets easier and easier to break the record. I actually found an article from NFL.com that was from the the early 2010s, somewhere in that range. It's not dated, but you can kind of tell using some context clues about the most unbreakable records in the NFL. And we've already seen some of these go down or come close to going down. One of the ones that I think a lot of people thought was going to be unbreakable for a long time was Eric Dickerson, 2105 rushing yards in a season. And we saw Saquon Barkley all but do it last year. I mean, he would have done it if he would have played in week 18. It certainly seems like that record is possible to be broken and maybe even sooner than people think. Another one listed there was George Blanda playing 26 NFL seasons. That seems like a lot, but Morton Anderson played 25 a lot more recently. And with the changes to the kickoff, the ability to just kill the ball into the end zone is not going to be prized among kickers anymore. And so accurate kickers later in their career, I think you're going to have longer careers because they don't have to kick the ball. It's not an essential part of the process to have a kicker that can kick the ball out of the end zone anymore. And so I think that will eventually be broken, even though that is a strong contender. One that I think a lot of people would call unbreakable, I tweeted about this last night, Don Shula, 347 career coaching wins. To put that in perspective, Mike Tomlin is the longest tenured active NFL head coach. He has 183. Mike Tomlin would have to coach another 15 years if he averages 10 wins a season to break Don Shula's record. Now, Tomlin would still only be 68, so maybe we shouldn't put it past him. I don't think he's going to coach for another 15 years. But Andy Reid could actually do it. Andy Reid is at 273. He would only need to average 11 wins a season for 5 years. With Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback for all 5 of them, I don't think that's necessarily crazy. I'm not sure Andy Reid wants to coach for another 5 years. He's already 67 years old, but we've seen coaches into their 70s in the NFL before. It's not crazy to think about it happening. And that was once considered an unbreakable record. Bill Belichick got closer than Reid is now, but still was about 20 or 30 wins away. One that I think looks unbreakable right now is Emmitt Smith's career rushing yard record. Emmitt Smith finished his 15-year NFL career with 18,355 yards. And basically, the only reason I'm not calling this record unbreakable is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is currently 19th on the NFL all-time rushing list with 11,423. And if you're very quick at long division, you'll realize that he is actually, in his 9 years, on pace to break the record. If he plays as long as Smith does and continues to average his current average, he will have over 19,000 rushing yards. Derrick Henry might be able to do it, and Derrick Henry has been the rare running back who has not missed a lot of time due to injury, and that has certainly helped his case. But basically, the only hope of breaking this record is Derrick Henry. Because of active players, Derrick Henry is 19th. Ezekiel Elliott, at the very tail of his career, and certainly not going to come anywhere near this, is 40th. Before you get to a running back who actually might do something more notable, Joe Mixon at 60th and Saquon Barkley at 65th. Aaron Jones at 69th. Nick Chubb at 74th. If it's not Derrick Henry, it might be an entire generation before we find another running back capable of even coming close. Like, I don't forget Smith. Derrick Henry's the only guy that looks like a chance to get into the top 10. That's Tony Dickerson with Tony Dorsett, 12,739. Eric Dickerson, 9th, 13,259. That one feels almost unbreakable except for one guy. But here's the one I think is actually unbreakable. Brett Favre started 297 straight games at quarterback. The reason I think this is unbreakable is, unlike the rest of the records, when you go to more games, breaking them gets easier. I think when you go to more games, starting them all gets more difficult. It's one thing to start every game in a 16-game season. It is completely different to start every game in a 20-game season. And that's what Josh Allen, who's currently the closest to Favre, will probably have to do to break his record. Favre played 297 straight games, started 97 straight games at quarterback. Josh Allen is on 114. If we stay at 17 games seasons, he'll have to play 11 and be 40 years old to break Favre's record. Now, that's not crazy for a quarterback, but it's crazy to imagine a player that puts himself in as much harm's way as Josh Allen never missing a football game. And, this is a record that he cares about. He started the Week 18 game last year and played just a few snaps just to get the start. So there are some ways that teams can kind of fudge it, but I think when you start to expand the schedule, it starts to get less and less realistic to see any player playing every game at 18, 19, 20 games. And certainly a quarterback that runs like Josh Allen, you got to figure eventually he's going to get himself hit too hard one of these times, and that's it. So for me, I think that is the most unbreakable NFL record out there, because every other record is going to get easier to break as we add games to the season, and that one is going to get harder. Let me know what you think about this or anything else. It's an open forum for you there in the comments, and please leave ideas for Steelers Morning Rush, questions for Steelers Afternoon Drive this time of year. Again, with that light calendar, and I'm sure you want me to talk about Aaron Rodgers more, and we'll do that later in the week. We're really leaning on you guys to drive the ship in terms of what we talk about here on a daily basis here on the YouTube channel and on our podcasting platforms. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review if you're listening somewhere else. Until next time, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and enjoy. See you on the afternoon drive around 6.